This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod. This is for the week of April 14th, 2025, and my old microphone is back, so if you are listening to this, it probably sounds a whole lot better. If you're watching, I have a different angle, so it's a new thing for everybody, no matter what platform you're listening on, Phil. This is the week of April 14th. I don't know if I just said that, but it is the week of 14th. And this is what's going on in Disney World. It's we got some Universal news that we're not going to really talk much about. There's Disneyland Paris news, which we're really not going to talk a lot about. But we do have a DBC engagement question that I think is rather fun. You went like all in on it. You have good details. A lot of people in the community kind of had fun with it. So I really appreciate everybody's attention to detail. There's new discounts, actually discount, right? There's one singular discount, which is rather interesting. So we're going to do a little bit of math a little on in the show. Welcome to new member on Discord, Disney Dude 22. I don't know what Disney Dude this is, but he's the 22nd. So welcome.
Yeah, it was apparently we already had 21 Disney Dudes, so this is the 22nd one.
I did steal your joke. You had that joke right before we started recording. I have to give you credit for that. We got a lot. We got some random theme park news type of stuff. So I think, Phil, we should just jump right into it and not let the listeners wait any longer. We're going to start the Grand Floridian. What's going on over there?
Yeah, so Disney announced we knew they were going to be doing some work to the lobby of the Grand Floridian, the main atrium lobby there, and they revealed some concept art and kind of the biggest thing, they're changing out the carpet and all that sort of stuff. But the big thing is that they're going to be adding a lobby bar, a new bar that's inspired by the iconic birdcage that's been in the lobby forever. And so that's kind of got everyone, I guess that's what the big discussion and debate about, is it good or bad that this bar is going to be there? The other key thing is that work is set to start, I think, as early as this week, but definitely this month. And it's going to be ongoing throughout 2025, which means that the gingerbread display that they normally do there, where they have the big gingerbread house and they sell the gingerbread and stuff like that, that will not be available at the Grand Floridian during this holiday season. The only other thing was they did say they're going to be updating the tea room. That tea is something that I think hasn't been back since COVID.
That's what that said.
Yeah, so if they're working on it, maybe that's something that's going to come back. So that would be good. But I don't know. Did you have any initial thoughts? What were your thoughts when you saw about this new lobby bar that's going in there?
My initial thoughts were basically how this is going to irritate a lot of people, and I just don't really mind the changes, right? A couple things more seriously. I've seen the gingerbread house the last 3 years running at this point. Last year was kind of cheating a little bit. It was like 2 days before it was finally finished and ready to go. I'm not going to miss it. I mean, that was something that my wife really loves, gingerbread houses. She used to build them with her mother, that sort of thing. So she thinks it's really cool. I love the Christmas tree in there, but if we go down during Christmas time at another point and the gingerbread house is not there, maybe we kind of miss the beautiful Christmas tree that they have there, because there's really unless we do a resort hopping, see all the Christmas trees type of thing, right? The gingerbread's not very good, right? So it's not like we're missing this amazing treat. It's not very tasty whatsoever. We've only bought it once. We're like, we can find something else better. I do like the idea of the bar, right? I don't know if people online, I didn't really look into the responses. Are they kind of poo-pooing the idea of alcohol being served in the?
Not so much that there's alcohol, because there's plenty of other bars. There's the Rose, right, the Enchanted Rose Lounge and stuff like that. I think it's that it's just right there in the middle, and a lot of people feeling like that's not appropriate for a hotel of this level and stuff like that, which I don't know. I don't think at least in city areas, you always see lobby bars and stuff like that. And just that they think it's going to make it more hectic and loud and people coming in just for the drink and stuff like that versus more serene setting. They are still going to have the piano player and stuff like that. So it's not going to be like they're playing rock music or something now, but just that it kind of is changing the vibe. And I think it's one of those things where if you liked the vibe that was there, you're like, well, this is going to make it bad. But I think personally, I wasn't crazy about the vibe there. So I think it's going to be more inviting and a little bit more fun. and makes it easier if you're doing a monorail crawl and stuff like that. And I think it's a relatively small bar. There's only a handful of seats there. So I think it's going to be more you go get a drink and then kind of sit in one of the like kind of loungy areas around the place. It's not going to be like 50 people surrounding the bar making a lot of noise and stuff.
Yeah, it's not somewhere where you need to get a reservation to go sit down. It's like grab a drink and like kind of hang out because there's other places to go have a beverage in that hotel. I think this is better for the hotel overall because from the moment the Christmas stuff comes into play until first or second week of January, this place is mobbed. And it's unfair to the resort guests because you're constantly fighting crowds of people to see the gingerbread house, right?
Yeah.
So if I was at the Grand Floridian spending all that money to be there, and then I want to go to the parks and I have to fight against 50% more people just to see some of that stuff, which is probably kind of frustrating. The lobby itself, when there's nothing there, like it's just the normal lobby without Christmas tree or anything else like that, it's rather boring and stale, right? I mean, they have the piano player there, which is really cool. They do a fantastic job, but like, I don't think many people are just sitting in the lobby purposely just listening to that. But they had an adult beverage in their hand and they're kind of relaxed. It's probably a different vibe because of that. So I think it adds to it. So I'm a fan of this. Not that I would ever go there for this, but like if I were staying at the Grand Floridian, it's maybe something you do after you come back from the parks, take a shower, and you just kind of want a nightcap or something like that. Nice and easy, right? You don't have to have a reservation to go to a bar. You don't have to go to a restaurant. You can go out to the lobby, have a drink. Kind of like if you're at the Polynesian, you can go to the Trader Sam's Terrace and just have a beverage or something else like that. You just walk up and get one. I think this is a pretty good addition. I like it.
Yep. And then I got to give Matt credit too. He posed the idea that maybe they could move the gingerbread house to Disney Springs at least for this year, or potentially going forward, which would be, this way, like you said, everybody that wants the gingerbread and see the gingerbread house, they don't have to go to the Grand Floridian and clog that space up. There's more, it's easier kind of in and out.
Where would they put it though? I guess there is some enclosed areas, but a lot of it's still outdoors.
Yeah.
With like animals.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. You'd have to have it in one of those covered areas, I guess, right? Because you don't want the rain on the actual gingerbread. That's a good point.
But it has to be enclosed too, because it's actual gingerbread. You're going to have bugs and birds and all that other type of stuff. So we'd have to be indoors somewhere.
Maybe inside just the Welcome Center or something. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm assuming though this is just a 1-year thing, and the gingerbread house will be back next year. But we don't know for sure. That we just know at least for this year it's not going to be there.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where maybe Disney's doing something. How long has the gingerbread house been going there? I don't even know that. I know for the longest time
I'm not sure.
Been there.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's always been like since I've been paying attention to things about that.
Yeah. Go ahead. What's the next one? I'm going to look this up.
Yeah. All right. So the next topic was that, in the midst of all the other Universal news with Epic Universe and previews starting and stuff like that, one little thing that came out today is they're using a virtual queue for the Harry Potter ride, at least for previews. We don't know if it's going to be when the park fully opens, but at least for previews, they're using a virtual queue. So Disney gets rid of them and Universal picks them up. So somehow virtual queues returned. But the other news is that Universal Great Britain has been officially announced and concept art was shared. I believe that it might still be requiring, one kind of final formal vote, but it's definitely going to happen. The resort is set to open as early as 2031. And it is a 476-acre property located south of Bedford. It's about a 35-minute train ride north of London. And part of the project is building out dedicated train stations. So it should be real easy to get there from London and that sort of thing. The concept art was extremely vague, but a lot of people are already speculating about what's going to be what, because some things kind of look like houses from different properties and things, or some things look like elements that are in Universal Beijing and stuff like that. And I think the BBC kind of put out there that this is what's going to be there, but I think it's still their speculation too. But some of the properties they said is Back to the Future. It looks like there's a major attraction for Back to the Future, a Jurassic World area, a Minions area, Paddington Bear area, Lord of the Rings, and James Bond. So those last three, I think, would be unique and something different. Obviously, they're kind of English properties and stuff like that. But people were getting excited about that, especially Lord of the Rings. I think that's a property that hasn't really been used in a theme park before. And that definitely seemed to be getting people to say like, oh, if they do that and they do a good job, that could be a draw to get people to go check out this park. So I don't know. You said you didn't really look at the concept art. You hadn't seen much about this. So I don't know, when I listed off those names, did anything kind of grab your attention? Is this something that, would excite you and maybe motivate you to make a trip there?
I mean, I'm looking at the concept art now, of just like the park overall, and nothing really stands out to me. It looks pretty generic. But the one thing that stood out to me is the Lord of the Rings speculation, because that's never been done before.
Yeah.
And would that get me to book a trip out there? Probably not. But like, if there was a Lord of the Rings in North America, that'd be kind of cool. But I don't know how those rights work. I don't know who has the rights for what, where. But those properties that you listed off, those are strong properties. I mean, that gets people. That's not like How to Train Your Dragon is not like a massively popular IP that everybody knows and loves. But like Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, Minions, Paddington, not so much. It's more of a classic, older kind of IP. But Lord of the Rings and Bond, like every millions and millions of people sign up to go have fun with that type of thing. So that's a pretty strong lineup if that's at least half of those end up being in the park.
Yep. And so I guess it would be Lord of the Rings would be kind of the one that if something came to a U.S. property that you'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a more immersive Jurassic World, kind of Jurassic Park land, not just like a ride and with some like stuff kind of.
Yeah, they had the area obviously in Islands of Adventure. It's kind of been built up over time, but yeah, something like a new Jurassic World built from the ground up.
Yes. Yeah, kind of like mirroring the quality of like all the Harry Potter stuff or anything that's in Epic right now, right? Like I think that would be really awesome. That would get me really seriously thinking about getting over to Universal versus sacrificing like a Disney Day type of thing.
Yep. So we'll see, but it's always exciting. You know, they don't have Epic Universe officially open yet, and they're already announcing a new park they're building and stuff. So that Comcast is definitely in on the theme park.
They're going strong.
They
have money from somewhere.
Yeah, they got the kid one opening up in Texas soon and stuff like that. So yeah, they're definitely expanding out. Disney.
By the way, before you get to the next one, 1999 was the first year of the Gingerbread House show at the Grand Floridian, which is, I thought it might have been a lot longer than that, but it's still quarter century.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but like it's still not like
it's not like it was there from 1971 or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the last kind of news topic I was going to touch on is Disney provided more updates for Disney Adventure World, which is the second park at Disneyland Paris that used to be the Walt Disney Studios. They shared concept art for the new nighttime show. They're going to have this lagoon in the middle of it, and it's using a lot of mixing of techniques, including drones. They said they're updating the Rivers of the Far West based on original concept art from Mark Davis, which is kind of cool. They're having an Up themed attraction, which I think got everybody excited. And then you saw the concept art and it's just one of those swings. It's like the silly symphony swings, which, hey, it's still going to be fun. Parks need those small things or two, but I think people maybe got a little overexcited when they heard an up ride coming. But the big thing that we knew was coming there is that one of the new lands they're working on the Frozen area, but they're going to have a Lion King themed world coming to Disney Adventure World, and it's going to feature a major attraction, dining, shopping, and character meet and greets. The major attraction will feature iconic moments and songs from the 1994 animated film. So they're going to be using, and they showed some of the concept art. It's clearly like those more cartoony looking characters, and 3 exciting slopes for it. You know, it's a water ride. It's going to be similar to Splash Mountain, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And the final drop is the same 52-foot high descent. So probably a very similar experience as that, but themed to the 1994 animated film of The Lion King.
I like how they make sure it's the animated film that everybody was asking about from D23.
Yeah. So this park is a park that obviously needed a lot of help. They were working on it. There was originally talk of the Star Wars area being there, but they scrapped that and they're doing The Lion King instead. And when you see the concept art, it's kind of going around the lagoon, almost a little like some of the Universal parks and maybe Epcot. But it should be a nice experience and a better complement to the main park there. But I don't know, did any of these ideas jump out at you that you think maybe they could bring here? I mean, I guess the easy one is saying the Lion King ride would look great in Animal Kingdom, but
yeah, I mean if they could just rubber stamp or cut and paste the Lion King land into Animal Kingdom, I think that would be phenomenal. That really excites me. So that's one of my favorite films. The Up theme attraction, I don't know why everybody gets excited about Up. I mean, it's a fun film, but like I don't understand. You know, to me it never like grabbed me. It was a beautiful story, but like okay, it's kind of like Soul, right? There was a beautiful story, and then I never watched it again. I've only seen it a couple times. The Rivers of the Far West type of thing. I don't know what to make of that, and I don't know if that's like a dangerous concept art to drop out of there because with Rivers of America going away, like this is kind of like I don't know. Is it like poking the bear, so to speak, with a lot of this stuff?
That was one thing that kind of jumped out at me was this was almost like doubling down on the old, old Frontierland Wild West type thing, whereas it seems like though it's kind of being curtailed a little bit at Magic Kingdom and kind of downplaying the Wild West type stuff, and this seems to be building it up. But maybe that plays better when you're in a non-US park. I don't know.
I guess so. I don't know. I just find it interesting. At least it goes to show that the Imagineers know what they're doing and they can make amazing things, and they're not just trying to kill this. They're just going to put it where it belongs, I guess, or put it where it's more popular, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know, but it's weird. But no, I would love to see the Lion King thing. I think that's the one thing I'm like super excited about when I saw these type of things.
Yep. And that's it for the news. I was just to kind of make things clear. We were recording this Sunday night because this time it's my fault. I have work travel on Monday.
Fault. It's just the real world is getting.
Yes, it's due to my travel. The other news that came out though was that Destination D23 tickets are going to go on sale Monday the 14th, meaning tomorrow, in about 15 hours. So that's why we haven't talked about it. But by the time you're listening to this, either I will be happy because I got tickets or sad because I didn't get tickets. Of course, with my travel, they go on sale when I'm on a plane. So it puts a little bit more pressure on my wife to be able to secure those tickets. So we've been doing a little bit of training and stuff like that. But she's usually really good with virtual queues and stuff like that. And she's done Run Disney in the past, so I'm sure it'll work out fine. But a lot of nervous chatter. There's a lot of people that are like, there's Facebook groups and stuff like that, and people, this is their first one, and they're all like anxious about it. So hopefully they doubled the size of it. So there's obviously twice as many tickets. Hopefully it'll be a smooth process and won't have any tech issues or anything like that.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yep. But once we get that, that'll be the last kind of big component for our August trip.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
Yep.
Just some construction updates for everybody out there, and I apologize for any sniffling. Like literally, like 1 hour ago, my allergies from outside just like hit me straight in the face, and my nose is now completely stuffed. So if I sound a little weird or more weird or weirder than normal, that's why. Magic Kingdom, the Astro Orbiter permits were filed for the reassembly. And just kind of going back through my notes, it's been since January. This thing has been kind of slowly taken together. So it's been out of commission for almost 3.5 months at this point. So that's kind of coming along right now. Animal Kingdom, no real other updates. We had some big updates last week about some of the bulldozing going on. I'm assuming that's ongoing.
It's still going on. I know that the big sign got knocked down and stuff like that. So they're making progress. Trees are cleared and stuff like that. But I haven't seen anything about anything going vertical or anything like that. It's still land clearing.
Yeah, so that's it. Epcot's nothing. Hollywood Studios, I think I forgot to mention this last week, but the shaded seating is now partially open. We'll get to go take some amazing pictures of shade when we're there in May, first week of May. And then one other thing that I noticed is in the hotel section, Stormalong Bay is getting a bunch of sand delivered. So they're redoing all the sand in that platform. So if you're going to the Yacht and Beach Club at some point in the next 4 months, I think it should hopefully be ready for you guys because it's a pretty major renovation. So all the construction updates, nothing major, nothing really worth talking about at this point.
Yep.
Before we go on, a reminder of our social media accounts: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube channel, and Blue Sky, all at the DBC Pod. Make sure you say hello. But more importantly, join Discord. That's where all the fun is happening in between our shows. If you're watching on this YouTube, scroll down just a little bit, hit that like button, leave a comment. Even if the comment is just comment or no comment, we do appreciate that. We like the engagement. Helps with the algorithm. Helps get the show in front of other people. So we appreciate that as well. Okay, so going on to the topic of the day. We did not put this in the news section. A new discount dropped for the summer. I didn't read the whole thing, but it's basically, I think through the end of the summer for Disney Plus subscribers. And the breakdown is basically all standard rooms at Disney All-Star Sports Resort, $99 a night. Woods View room at Disney Port Orleans Resort, $169 a night. The Cars Family Suite at Art of Animation is $229 a night. Remember that number, $229. Deluxe Studio at Saratoga Springs is $249 a night. That's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
The Savannah room at the Animal Kingdom Lodge at $339 a night, which is probably about $50 cheaper than when I booked one for a friend of mine. I guess early summer last year, where some of the crazy like 50% off kind of things. So if you want to see the Savannah room at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, those are fantastic rooms. We were there in November. $339 a night, which is cheaper than Caribbean Beach Resort, and a lot of times that's a steal. So if you haven't done that, like do a weekend, do something, you're probably not going to see prices like that for probably not a while, but you never know. They might be discounting these a lot otherwise. But two things stand up to me: $99 a night at an all-star resort. So, Phil, if you were a family of four and you wanted to see all four parks in, let's say, 5 days, 4 nights, 5 days, you're looking at, without taxes, you're looking at about $400 and something for your hotel, if you can get the $99 a night, right? You're looking at 3 park tickets at $90 a piece times 4, so 90 times 3 times 4, which is right around $1,100 and something dollars.
Yeah.
So we're now at $1,600 with room and tickets, and then if you want, you could spend another, call it $800, probably $760 to get Magic Kingdom tickets for a single day ticket to round out your trip. You're looking at a Disney World trip for 4 nights, 5 days for under $2,500 without food and transportation to Orlando. To me, that is a phenomenal price if you want to see the parks.
And it might even work out better. I don't know if your kids are under 10, right? You could do the 50% off for the kids' tickets then. I don't know if that might work out better as well.
I haven't even gone that far with the math. But to me, I think like that cheap of a ticket plus that cheap of a hotel goes to show that the summer's light.
Oh yeah.
It's showing me that Disney is probably on the backside of that peak where they found out where their high point was, and they're now on the backside of it. So they're never going to make anything cheaper, but I think they're going to get more inventive with pricing like this. I think that's pretty great. Now, how this affects my trip. So I will be staying at a Cars Family Suite in July. I plugged in the dates. I think it was July 22nd to the 31st, and was not available for that time. I did plug in from the 20th through the 25th, and it was available. So I had two things I'm kind of thinking about. So I did some napkin math. So I have the free quick service meal, which we will fully utilize, right? That will pay for like what we would normally eat at a park on any given day. And the difference between our whole party of 6 getting the quick service plan and saving about $350 to $400 a night on the hotel room is almost a wash, which is why you have to think about at this price point that you're getting this versus the free dining that's available with this, and it's almost identical to savings. Remember, Phil, we talked about like rack rate discount versus the dining plan discount.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
this is essentially very close to not allowing people in the room to outscale the rack rate discount. I think this is where you need to be to get people to really get excited about a rack rate discount at this point. Now, Phil, here's another thing. When I go down, we plan on staying at like a cheap off-property hotel like the night that we arrive, so we can kind of rest, sleep, and kind of start our Disney vacation all fresh rather than waste one day at a hotel at Disney. You can't book this for a single night, right?
I think it's 2 nights minimum, right?
It's 2 nights minimum. So the 2 nights prior to my vacation, it's available at $229 a night. So it's like $460 to stay 2 extra nights on property versus maybe paying like $150 or $160 a night at another hotel somewhere else, which I haven't booked yet. Would you spend an extra $300 for 2 extra nights at a Disney property versus staying offsite for a single night? Now, granted, we probably won't use that first night because we'll probably either get there super late or maybe whatever. It's kind of wasted.
Yeah.
Is there a value to you at $300, $250 to $300 to stay already at the place that you're staying at, and then or staying off property and then having to pack up and get over there again in the morning?
I don't know. It's tough because it's like a whole, like, obviously you're adding another day, so it's more food and more like what are you going to do with that day, and so it just scales up the whole vacation. So.
I don't think we would end up spending any extra money food wise because we're not going to be there 2 whole days doing nothing, right?
Right.
We'll leave at the same time. We'll get there at the same time, but we're basically saving $100 on a single night down there and staying in the same place.
Okay.
So without forgetting about the food costs or the ancillary stuff, which I don't think we'd had to spend anything extra, would $300 be worth it to stay in the room that you will be staying at?
I mean, if you could get the same room and not have to move at all, then it might be. If it's just at the same property and you're still going to have to switch.
Well, it's the Cars family suite on both sides, because that's what we have booked now. So
right.
I'm assuming that they would just keep us in the same room.
Yeah, I mean, if you can guarantee that, it might be worth it. But I don't know. I think $300 is still $300. You can do something with
That's
it.
true.
So.
That's true. Anyway, food for thought. I got to think about it. Like, I like the idea of potentially even going earlier on my Disney vacation, even though we don't have tickets. I think that's kind of fun for a pretty low price of $229 a night. I haven't looked at what other resorts or hotels are off property. What did you spend per night when you went down there?
So we had a room that fits 6 people, and it was $166 a night, and that was like right off property.
Did that include any of the other fees versus like what the Cars and Family Suite is offering right here? I mean, there's normal taxes and stuff.
That was all in with the taxes and stuff like that. And that included breakfast.
So that's like $60 more to stay on Disney property.
Yeah.
I have to think about that. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was really interesting. So if you haven't booked a trip and you don't want to spend all the money, there's an extremely affordable way to go to Disney World this summer.
Yeah.
If you don't mind staying at an all-star resort. I mean,
and I definitely saw them leading with that. Like that's the headline everywhere is like $99 a night you can stay at Disney.
Yep.
Like and that reminds me of those old commercials they had where, the mother and father are like, oh, we can, $1,600 for the week. We can do that. I mean, obviously it'd be more now. But like focusing on like
not
how
much more.
Yeah. But focusing on how you can do a Disney trip. It can be affordable. You can do $99 a night, like that type of a thing versus just like, there's some discounts and stuff like that, but it's still expensive. This is like, no, like anywhere, like in the country, you're paying at least $99 a night for a hotel. Right. So it's like,
I don't think you're going to find like a Hampton Inn anywhere in this country less than $99 a night at this point. Yeah. I don't think it's available. I mean, I've been in the middle of nowhere at a Hilton.
Yeah.
And it was $180.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's good. It's a good deal. So if you're thinking about it, hey, pull the trigger on it. I think it's definitely worth it. And I don't think honestly, I would splurge and get either the Saratoga Springs or the Animal Kingdom Lodge. If you haven't ever stayed at the deluxe resort, like at those prices,
or maybe do a split stay, right? Because it only has to be 2 nights. So you could do, say, 4 nights at All Stars and 2 nights at Animal Kingdom Lodge or something for a pretty affordable 6-night stay.
That's a really good idea. Or you could do 6-night stay at All Star, then go to Saratoga, and then go to Animal Kingdom Lodge, wrap it up there.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. Just have some fun with it. I mean, these rates are ridiculous. I think it's worth checking out.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to the DVC engagement. We're about halfway through the show, so I think this is fair because this is going to be a long one.
Yeah,
here.
To go through some of these, people
also
got into it a little bit.
Yeah, which I really want to apologize to people in the community. I was traveling quite a bit for work, and I didn't really get to kind of follow through with a lot of people as you were typing these things out. But we're getting into them now. So the question was, if you don't remember, is if you had to create a local Disney theme park near you, what are 3 attractions, 1 sit-down restaurant, and 2 quick-service restaurants would you choose to build your park with? What is the theme, and how is the park laid out? Now, I cheated. I did 2 sit-down restaurants and 1 quick service, I just realized. But you kind of get the idea. Now, I had no idea what you were going to choose, and then I saw exactly what you did. I'm like, of course you did it this way. So, Phil, you did a really good job. Would you like to go first? I'll give you that option.
Sure. I could go first. I could go first. That's fine.
Okay.
So my initial thought was like I would just do like retro Epcot World and like bring back all the old like attractions and stuff like that. But I decided to get a little more creative and think of like a new concept and that sort of thing. And so my idea was my park would be called Mystic Sea, SEA. It's a Society of Explorers and Adventurers themed theme park. Overall, it would be based around the 4 guiding concepts that are represented in the crest of the SEA: adventure, romance, discovery, and innovation. So I tried to like tie in one of those 4 things to each element that's in the park. All the elements, there would be a main body of water that would be called Mystic Sea that would be in the middle of it, and kind of everything would be around the main body of water. So you could have a nighttime show there if you wanted, and that sort of thing. The 3 attractions, I would be poured over Mystic Manor, which invokes discovery. I would take it as is from Hong Kong Disneyland, and would be kind of the weenie of the park. Which features Lord Mystic and Albert, his pet monkey, and it contains all the artifacts collected from over the years of all of his explorations and discovery. The second attraction would be, I call it Rivers of Adventure. Obviously, this would be the adventure theme, and it would be a rapid style ride, but much more grand than Kali River or something like that. It would have indoor portions with animatronics. And the idea is that this is an expedition that's been chartered by Victoria Marie Falls, who is the wife of Dr. Albert Falls. So this is like kind of more of the adventure and thrilling take on the Jungle Cruise, sort of. And then the last one, which is an updated version of an attraction at Tokyo Disney Sea, which is Fortress Exploration, which would involve innovation. That is a walkthrough attraction with several areas to explore, some with technology, some with just uncovering things. I would have like a scavenger hunt with interactive elements, so kind of like the DuckTales thing, and kind of, or like the wands at Wizarding World and things like that. And it also would track your progress and see where you stand within all the various adventures and stuff like that. Again, would have animatronics and character meet and greets and stuff like that. Also, the main room would be a projection dome with like constellations and numerous Easter eggs and stuff like that. So it'd kind of be like this grand place with different areas to explore, more of a walkthrough.
See, everybody, I was reading through this, and everybody basically made their own attractions for the most part. I originally meant to just like, you get to take one attraction and put them all together, but everybody started writing like, oh, it's like, you know what, this is better. The more imagination to use. I was trying to make it easy for everybody to like contribute, like pick 3 rides, done. But that's what I did. So I wanted to keep true to my thought.
Okay.
How much we would differ for some of these things. But I like the idea. It's really cool. So what did you do for dining?
So for dining, the table service would be a recreation of the Adventurers Club that used to be at Pleasure Island, kind of an expanded version of that, because that was more just a lounge bar with different areas. But this would also have a table service area. So it's kind of think how the Nomad Lounge and Tiffin's are together, that sort of thing, but a bit grander scale. The host of this would be Pamela Perkins, president of the Adventurers Club from the 1930s. So it would kind of be themed to that time frame and that sort of thing. One of the quick services would be called Fantastic Flight, and this would pay homage to the romance theme, and it would be pay homage to Camelia Falco, who is the first known female member of the SEA. And the idea is that it would be similar to Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, but more historical and with influences of Leonardo da Vinci and the romanticism of early flight and that sort of thing. And then the other quick service would be an international bazaar, which would be about discovering new food and that sort of thing. So it'd be like a kind of like a food hall concept with like multiple booths that you can go and get different food and that sort of thing. And so it would have representations from all the places that the SEA has explored, and it would have seating alongside of the Mystic Sea in the center of the park. So those are the 3 dining options I have. So it would all be Society of Explorers and Adventurers themed park.
So how are you setting this all up in your mind? Like, you've got this big lake in the middle, or body of water.
Yeah.
You've got Mystic Manor, like on the other side of it as you come in, like if that's the weenie of the park.
Yeah.
How are you walking into your park in your imagination? Like, you go through the gate, like what's the run up? Like, is it like a Main Street type of thing where you're kind of walking up that way? Is it like Epcot where you walk in and boom, there's like a massive icon in front of you that you have to kind of walk around? Like, what are you?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the closest thing I could think of would probably be the entrance to Islands of Adventure at Universal, where it's sort of this like port area and kind of, so it's not like a full main street, but it is sort of an entranceway that has shops and some quick, little snack carts and things like that. But it's kind of like you're at this location that's more of a port or something like that brings you into the waterfront and that sort of thing. And then you could go either right or left, with Mystic Manor across the way. One of the attractions to the left, one to the right that you walk around, and the dining's kind of split out in between there and that sort of thing.
Okay. I like it. So mine is, I titled this, I didn't know how to kind of put this together theme-wise. And what I kind of settled on was, I'm calling it the American Adventure, right? So one of my favorite vibes of Disney is like the old school animatronics and the kind of World's Fairish type of rides and shows. So the theme park is going to have like the theme of celebrating American optimism and its history. So the park would open up to like a similar kind of like Main Street kind of vibe, not exactly maybe like country Main Street like we see in Magic Kingdom, but maybe a main thoroughfare. And then it would transition towards modern day, right? Like, so you would slowly go from, 1940s and 50s Main Street to, the 2000s, right? Different types of cars and more lighting and that sort of thing. And there would also be essentially, instead of how Main Street is just basically one long street, this one will have more of a block type of thing, like kind of like in which park is it that has is it in Japan where you have like side streets and stuff like that, and it's main promenade, or is that Hong Kong?
Well, so Paris is the one that has like the main street that kind of looks the same, but then it
Yeah.
has the galleries on the
That's what I'm
on,
thinking
on
of,
the
yes.
back side of the buildings. Yeah.
So some similar to that. But as you go through, so my 3 attractions would be one, the People Mover, right? So it's going to basically go in and out of the restaurants and the buildings and the shops and the other 2 attractions, and like it's going to be a long ride. Think like Magic Kingdom Railroad, but it's just the whole park essentially. But instead of just being a circle going around it, you're kind of going through it. So it's kinetic energy throughout the park. You're going to have cool speeches. Maybe there's like 2 or 3 places where you can get on and get off, that sort of thing. I think that would be really kind of neat. The third attraction would be at the center of the park, would be the Carousel of Progress. But if I could, and I was thinking, like, if we could expand this, make this much bigger, so maybe double the size of it, so you can get on and off at multiple locations as it's going around, but then expand the decades of history. Maybe you expand it before the current start, and then make several decades now since it's a true inception, and kind of get that whole type of feel to it. And then the third one would be at the entrance to the park would be the American Adventure from Epcot, where you walk in and you get the history of America, right? And you kind of transition through the ages, and the main centerpiece would be the Carousel of Progress, kind of showcasing from the American Adventure, what you just saw, to kind of now the technology, the family, the home kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the People Mover just kind of showcasing everything. Now, of course, a lot of these things I want to build in food and adult beverages and drinks and snacks, because the People Mover, I think one of your things from a couple years ago, you wanted to build like a tiki bar in the back of the People Mover, right? Kind of that kind of vibe. So,
Or there's something around like a dinner experience on the People Mover,
exactly.
so you can eat while you're doing your ride.
And I like the idea of like being able to go through restaurants on the People Mover, just like you can see through like some of the shops and stuff like that in the People Mover currently. That type of vibe. Now the restaurants I picked Steakhouse 71. I love like the art and the history and like the black and white esque of this restaurant. It kind of really gives like a nice historical kind of classy vibe type of thing to it. The second one would be Homecoming, because it's nice. A lot of it's like traditional homey type foods, which kind of goes with like the Carousel of Progress. These would all be kind of stationed like in that main central entertainment quarter, I guess, if you want to call it, of the park. And then the other one is the Basket at Wine Bar George, which is kind of like a walk-up window, kind of like the crepes in France, in Epcot. And it has like fancy food things that you can kind of pick and eat and kind of walk around the park. The main park itself, I want it to be very like, you got the transition of the city, but after you get beyond the city, that first main thoroughfare, I want parks and greenery and stuff like that. So there's like, I'm thinking like one side could be like from like the 19th century, like oil street lamps and stuff like that, versus the right side of the park is you have more transition that way for more modern parks with more lights, but kind of like the World Celebration-esque vibe that you see at Epcot type of thing, kind of, modern-ish. I'm terrible at describing it. But like that's kind of the park. And it's more of like not a park you go to for like rides and attractions, but a park you go to kind of see some shows, eat some good food, walk around, have some adult beverages. It's more of an adult size style park. And then maybe in the center of the park, there could be like live music or something else like that. Kind of like, to me, it'd be like old school downtown Disney, but with attractions and, less shopping, I guess. Kind of thing. So that's how I kind of envision my local theme park. And I would go here like every other weekend. This sounds like unless I have to spend $100 to get in every single time. That might cramp my style just a bit. All right, so that was mine. How are we gonna divide the community on this one, Phil? Do we judge, or do we just say everybody did a wonderful job? A+.
Well, I think everyone did a wonderful job, but we can always maybe comment on which parts maybe stand out to us the most, that like got us the most excited, or would like to see something like that. Sure. So I'll start with Mama Six. Posted that they would like to see a local Canadian Disney park that would have a Northern Adventure theme. It would need to be in Vancouver to be fully outdoors, though. Attractions would have a Call of the Wild or a Brother Bear themed mountain ride, a snowy Arendelle Village and dark ride attraction similar to what is going on in Japan, and then an Ice Age themed land with a family friendly outdoor ride, including an Ice Age themed playground for the kids. Dining would have.
I'm sorry. Let's
Yeah,
start. Let's start
yeah.
with the attractions. So I like the Brother Bear themed mountain ride. I think that's really cool. The Snowy Arendelle Village. That to me that kind of crosses. Like I understand the theme of like wilderness and snowy and mountains and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but that might confuse me with Norway if I'm in Canada.
Yeah.
But I think the vibe and the environment matches though.
Yeah.
The Ice Age, like I really like the idea of incorporating Ice Age into this. I think that's a really cool idea. I'm not just familiar with. When I think Ice Age, I think big giant glaciers. I guess there are big giant glaciers. You just gotta go far to find them.
Yeah.
In northern.
Further up in Canada, to get that. So that would fit.
I like that there's like pine trees and mountains and dirt. Then there's like snow, and then there's like ice. It's a cool transition. I kind of dig that.
Yep. Dining would have a forest-themed table service restaurant with a subtle Pocahontas theme. So this makes me think a little bit of the story, the Snow White Artist Point one. But it would feature a menu with northern indigenous specialties like bannock, wild game, and berry-based desserts. So kind of much more accurate, I guess, to the history of the area. A quick service that would serve different types of poutine, and then a Beaver Tails quick service, which I guess would be more of a snack cart type place. That. But yeah.
I like the idea of having a menu with like wild game and that type of thing, because you don't see that very often in a lot of restaurants.
No, I guess they have a little bit in Les Célères. They sometimes have some wild game animal, but yeah, not as much as as I think this would get into for sure.
Yeah, I like that. It's really cool. All right, I'll go next with
Okay.
Teal Madden. So he said he's going to cheat, as the rumored Disney park in Virginia almost opened would have been great because he loves American history. So basically, he's kind of stealing that. So you want to put a park in Virginia or North Carolina, and some indoor shopping instead of Main Street, and then he just wants what is it Williamsburg? Is that
Colonial Williamsburg is in Virginia. Yeah.
So that's like a similar type of thing. I would have loved if that opened. That would be really cool because it's just showing that hopefully the other Disney parks that are in smaller scale could have worked, and maybe we would have gotten more of them across North America.
Yeah.
Other attractions he wants is. Am I reading this correctly here? He wants a new Tron coaster, but themed to the original movie of Tron Legacy.
Yeah, I think
matching with a lot of.
I think what he's going for is it. He says going into America's past, but I think it's almost into America's like nostalgia for the 70s and 80s is kind of what he's going for. So instead of going into like deep into America's history, he's going back to like I guess his childhood. So he wants things that were popular in his childhood. So he's talking about how Tron was from the 80s and stuff like that.
I missed this line. Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the key element is that he said America's history, but I think it's more of like what was the history, like how was the Americas in the 70s and 80s? What was big then?
I guess like 50 years prior to opening of Disneyland is what Walt built Disneyland.
Yeah, that's kind of what Main
right?
Street was, yeah.
So I like the idea of the 70s and 80s. So he wants the original Tron coaster, the original Star Wars dark ride, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground for the little ones. I don't know if Honey, I Shrunk the Kids would be the one I would go with.
Right.
What would you choose for the third attraction for kids if we're going with 70s and 80s?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what was like. I mean, there was a lot of the animated stuff wasn't as good then until you get into the Renaissance. I mean, maybe like a Black Cauldron type attraction could be cool. I don't know. I'd have to think about it a little bit more.
I'm trying to think about it. Like I'm thinking about a bunch of other stuff that isn't Disney property.
Yeah, that's the first things that came to mind were like Goonies and E.T. and stuff like that, but that's not Disney. So
I mean, we'd have to think of some kind of Fox property from back in the day that I
Oh, yeah.
realized that they owned it or whatever. But he had some dining. He wanted like the Disney version of Chuck E. Cheese. Now, I think this would be an excellent idea, right? Like get rid of like the video games and the most disgusting ball pit in the world type of thing, but like a place where you can get burgers and pizza and stuff like that, but have like an animatronic band. I think that would be awesome. I think Disney, if they did that right now, would sell the heck out of it as for of like think of a Hoop-Dee-Doo review, but with animatronics, and it's just for kids, or designed specifically for kids with like no alcohol and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool. Sit down options. He wants like Ponderosa. Gosh, have you ever been to a Ponderosa?
Yeah, we used to go when I was a kid quite often, actually.
Chi-Chi's. Oh man, Chi-Chi's went out of business near me because they had some health scares. That's just what's that I remember of. And then hotel themed to Howard Johnson, like across the street, I guess, from like Disneyland. I love this idea. This is absolutely fantastic. I totally missed this because he was talking about the American. I love this. This is a great idea. I really like it. It's just unfortunate that Disney wasn't just in a strong place.
I looked up like what was the best Disney movies from the 70s and 80s, and like, I mean, there's some fun movies like Aristocats, Robin Hood, Black Cauldron, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, but like nothing's really jumping out at me as like, oh, that would make a great attraction. So I don't know.
Now I'm looking up movies from like the 80s and 90s from Century Fox Films. I'm just see if I can find any, but I'm not seeing anything like really good.
Yeah, I have to think about it a little more, but
yeah.
Okay.
What's the next one?
So this was a quick one. Mets fan said easy guess for a smaller park was only Fantasyland type rides that focus on younger kids. So basically a small park that caters to kids 3 to 12. So kind of, I guess, what Universal is doing down in Texas. And then he said, if go gearing towards adults, just bring back Pleasure Island and having that type of thing versus an actual theme park.
I like it. We had an anonymous one. So if you had to create a local Disney park near you, he's going to go with going a bit different and creating an Irish pavilion at Epcot. It's really annoying that the UK pavilion has a mishmash of Irish and UK stuff. So she wants the Irish country and culture really represented properly at Epcot. So I'd like that idea. So so there's normal shops that sell Irish themed things like Barry's and I'm going to say this wrong. Is it Leon's? Not Leon's.
I think it's Lion's Tea. Barry's and Lion's Tea, yeah. Yeah,
there you go. Outdoor stage area for bands like U2, The Commitments. A main pub area serves alcohol only and does not serve food and does not have live music or entertainment. People go in and socialize. Games shown on TV. The main sit-down restaurants, a fine dining restaurant, menu similar to the restaurant Patrick is it Goulabad in Dublin, a 2-star Michelin restaurant. The counter service would be all-day carvery. Food available would be soup, Irish brown bread, mashed potatoes, roast potatoes, that sort of thing. Quick service would be a chipper that has items like garlic cheese chips, taco chips, curry chips, snack box, spice burger, spice bag, and battered sausage. This would go over really well during Food and Wine, Phil. Yeah. I think this would be a massive hit. I'm all for adding additional countries to Epcot, and I think this would be, a good one. I mean, think of how much money they can make on St. Patrick's Day with an Irish-focused country in Epcot.
Yeah,
that's why they don't have one.
And she gets, it was a long push. She gets a lot into like specific architecture she'd like to see and stuff like that. It almost makes me think it'd be cool, like, if they, they were going to do the Cherry Tree Lane extension onto the UK pavilion, if instead of that, they did like a real Ireland area.
See, the only thing you can't do, you can't just put like an addendum to the UK pavilion that's Ireland.
I guess that would be bad, right?
A lot of people. Right there, you're just starting way too many problems, Phil. It would have to be separate.
Yeah, I guess I was just trying to think, because I don't know if I don't know if they would do a whole separate pavilion for Ireland, but if they could pull it off, it would be great. I think the food especially sounds really good.
I like it. I like the idea. Why don't you do Wheezy's?
So Wheezy said torn on making it New England or Denver theme, but chose for Denver. The park icon would be a big mountain looming in the back of the park, like Volcano Bay's volcano. Obviously, in Denver, there's not an actual volcano, but it would just be a big mountain peak.
True.
Have a dark ride would be, I guess, the main ride, which would be because Colorado has a rich gold mining history, which is where the Denver Nuggets name came from, and be a dark ride through the mines. Not an e-ticket, but more of an educational boat ride type thing. Ride 2 would be a multi-inversion coaster that would kind of theme to make it feel like sort of like X Games that were on ESPN at the time, like skiing and snowboarding and stuff like that, but the coaster kind of simulates that. And then the other one is a river rapids ride, but instead of a circle like at Kali River Rapids, it would mimic more like whitewater rafting, that type of thing. Quick service 1 would be a taco-oriented quick service. There's a large Hispanic presence in Colorado, so that would tie into that. Quick service 2 would be crepes, because every ski town in Colorado, I guess, has a little crepes place that has a 30-minute wait, so they're always popular there.
I did not know that.
And then the table service would be gold mine theming, heavily themed table service where you hear TNT blast, pickaxe noises, and the rough fake caving in. Ugh, that's a tough one to say. Corner and crumbling in. Gold nuggets leading throughout the walls. Basically, like you're eating inside an active mine, I guess, like that. That's an interesting theme. he said it would be kind of flat at the entranceway, but would be built up in scale over through the back of the park, kind of like you're going from Denver up into the Rocky Mountains and that sort of thing.
So I think we got a good collection of like adult oriented ones. We've got like a cultural focused one with Ireland, which I really appreciate. We had a Mets fan who had basically just like they want like a kiddie park, kind of like what they're doing down Universal's doing down in Texas. I think that's a great idea. We had just things that we just want to do. Screw everybody else. This is what we want to see. Type of things. But I really think Disney could do like this is it's probably going to end up being a cruise ship at some point. But like your idea as far as just like the explorers and the adventure type of like theme park, like take out like Jungle Cruise. Like I was thinking like how do we make like a water oriented park? And like you can easily do something where you take like Jungle Cruise, Navi River Journey, and Kali River Rapids make Kali River Rapids actually a good attraction, not like a education like this we're burning down the forest kind of thing, which is kind of boring visually. Anyway, and kind of marry those all together. I really like your idea, but like I just want the Adventures Club back. Like I want that and experience that as an adult and kind of do so. I'm Skipper's Canteen is one of my favorite restaurants. I'm down for that. So as much as I would love to have mine, I think yours would be just more fun. Mine just sounds way more expensive because you're just having food and a lot of drinks. At this one, yours seems like a lot of fun to go to. So I like your idea, and I like TL Madden's like 70s, 80s nostalgia bait kind of park. Now, I often think about this, Phil. Like I was sitting there helping my daughter with her homework about 2 hours ago, and I'm kind of looking up on our wall, looking at pictures, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, they brought out part of some of her social studies was like 9/11, and I'm thinking, like, man, 9/11 was like 12 years before she was born. She was born in 2013, and then I thought about like. That was for her. That's almost 20 years ago now. But when she was born, for me, that was only 12 years ago. So, like, what were my parents remembering when I was just born? And it was like we landed on the moon like 11 years before that I was born. And I'm thinking back to myself, what would a modern day Disney World look like if you wanted to remake Main Street? And I often think like, when Disneyland or when Magic Kingdom opened in 71. That's like going back 70 years. So if we go back 70 years now, it's like you're looking at the 60s and stuff like that. So I don't know. I always find it interesting putting the perspective of time. But like I think the 70s, 80s nostalgia for parents that are in their 40s and 50s and grandparents in their 60s would remember that fondly. And I think that would be I don't know how you pull it off, though.
Yeah.
Truly, like build a whole park or kind of that nostalgia type of thing because it'd be weird.
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind was like because there's something to be said for grounding something in a certain time period because then this as you move away, that still time period stays the same. So I didn't know if like retheming Tomorrowland to be as if it was like what we thought Tomorrowland's type stuff was in the 70s or 80s, because then you could have like the Star Wars stuff. You could have, some of the Disney thing like Flight of the Navigator and things like that. Like kind of like we were like starting to get into like thinking about space travel and meeting extraterrestrials and them coming to Earth and stuff. So I don't know, like that could be a fun way to kind of, I know they always go back like, well, make it like Jules Verne, like future, like, well, what if we don't go back that far?
Yeah.
What if we just say like, well, what did we think? Like, what were we excited about for the space and the future and stuff like that in the 80s and 90s? That could be kind of fun.
Well, the future hit us in the face pretty quickly in the 90s because then all of a sudden the internet was a thing.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, the iPhone was a thing, and it's just like it just took off from there. So that'd be kind of hard to kind of like pinpoint.
Yeah.
Because things have been rapidly changing over the last 30 years. But I like that idea. I mean, to me, I don't know how you would do it from an IP point of view and get control of those IPs. But if we could have like a Saturday morning cartoon style show where from like the late 80s into the early 90s and have like your Teenage Mutant Turtles and your Inspector Gadgets and like the afternoon Disney lineup from the 90s and all the other type of stuff, to me that would be awesome. But then my kids would be looking around like, why are we here? I don't know what any of this is because none of it lasted that long enough for our current generations to even remember that. All right, so our DVC engagement for next week, we just took a way big turn off into the
Yeah.
tangent there. DBC engagement for next week is to design a game show for Disney Plus. I found, I don't have it up here real quick. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I found some random picture on Reddit that I thought was hilarious. And it's just like the background is just a picture of, I think it's whatchamacallit from Disneyland. Why can't I think of it? What the name of the? Anyway, it's just a random background.
Yeah.
And it says that the text is: imagine a reality show where someone who has never been to Disney before is in charge of planning out a whole day, but for a bunch of Disney fanatics who are not allowed to help in any way, or else they are immediately eliminated. So, I think that's absolutely hilarious. Like, the stuff that we go through of like spreadsheets and planning out and whatever, and then we would just have to follow around some novice that just says, okay, this is what we're doing. I'm trying to figure this out. And they don't even know that like the like lightning lanes are a thing and we're waiting on lines and stuff like that. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. So we want you guys to design a game show. Now, it could be like a game show where you're out and about and you got to do a thing, like a challenge. What was that show from like 10 something years ago where the people had it was Amazing Race. Like it could be like an Amazing Race type of show. It could be an in studio, like
it could be like a trivia thing
Jeopardy
or something.
Kind of show. Now you can't use a trivia show because we just mentioned that. No, but like Disney Jeopardy type of thing. You could, if that's something that you really want, that'd be kind of cool. Or it could be, I don't know, use your imagination. It could be anything. Like it could be like Survivor, like it's a reality based type show. It could be like 10 people or in like the bungalows at Polynesian, and it's I don't know, human drama of some sort, I don't know, whatever. I think that would be kind of neat. But so that's be next week for our DBC engagement. Design a game show. Let's expand this. Maybe not necessarily a game show, but a game show / reality TV show.
Yeah.
For Disney Plus, right? So it doesn't have to be specifically a game show. It could be a reality show, something that you would like to watch on TV and laugh at people as they try to work their way through whatever challenge.
Something for Disney Plus with some form of contestants and that sort of thing. Yeah. Like,
and it has to be for Disney Plus where you don't have to turn on the adult only feature. like I learned that there was like that when I was trying to search for Daredevil on Disney Plus, and I'm like, I can't find it. And I'm like, oh, I need to create a separate account just to access that content. So something that could be prominently displayed on the front of Disney Plus that kids of all ages, you wouldn't be worried if they hit play and watch the first 5 minutes of it. So let's keep it like at the worst PG. I think that would be the good rule, right? Right.
Okay.
We don't want
to
get anything deeper than that. All right, Phil, did I forget anything, or are we good to go for this evening?
I think we're good to go.
All right, so everybody, thank you for watching and listening this week. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Join us on Discord. Leave a comment if you don't have our Discord link. It's all over the place, but you should be able to find it. But if you don't have it, we'll give it to you. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.